Okay, this review needs a big fat preface. I've publicly come out against all of the stationless bikes. I think the stationless bike model doesn't necessarily work, but for the purposes of this review, I want to completely ignore that, put that fact to the side, and just review the product as it stands, assuming that stationless is a fine system. Okay, that's out of the way, let's get to the review. So this is where I found the Bleeper Bike, locked to a Sheffield stand here in Rathfarnham Village. We'll just have a walk around there. Apologies for any shake in the footage. So the first thing we need to do then is to unlock the bike. Previously I'd set up the app on my phone and got the free €1 ride. So that €1 gives you 1 hour of use. So I just need to scan it here on my phone. It takes a little second, and then in a sec there now the lock will unlock itself. There we go. And now it's giving me some information about how to park it. We need that later, but not really now. So tap that away, and there we are. It's unlocked and ready to use. Put the app away, and then just take this lanyard off the bottom. To be honest, that's a little bit clumsy. It works, but it's a little clumsy the way that works. And the lock is very flimsy. If you wanted to pull it off a stand, you easily could. The wheel would still then be locked securely, but the stand bit of the system is just a little backup to stop people messing with them, dumping them in the middle of the street or whatever. And I think we're going to sort of clip that on there. It's not very clear. That came off. Maybe clip it to itself. But anyway, just to stop it getting in the way. Again, it could be a little bit neater. So off we go on our first ride with the bike. Just taking off the pavement here now. It's a 3-speed bike, and there's the bell on the other side. It's actually kind of easy to hit that, but it is a nice bell. That's one thing I'm pretty happy with. So here we take off downhill, and you'll see me looking down because it's a little bit difficult to pedal, so we'll get back to that later, but I was surprised because we're coming down a hill here now. The bike I chose appeared to be brand new or almost brand new, but you'll still note there's some chipping on the paint there on the right handlebar. Which is kind of surprising considering it's just brand new off the line or close to. You'd expect it to be in good condition. There's also a few nicks on the frame, but otherwise everything was really clean, so it's obviously quite new. If you'd excuse the vertical video for a second, this is the view from between the handlebars, and you can see there's a cage there in front. I didn't use it, but obviously there's some carrying capacity there. You'd probably manage a small backpack or a satchel in there. You're not going to fit any big heavy goods, but that's not what it's designed for. Here I am coming into Bushy Park with the bike. Still having a bit of trouble to get any kind of speed with it, but it is comfortable. The tires are quite fat and the ride is kind of smooth, so that's fine, but still quite slow. Not too much vibration though. You can see the camera's quite steady. Just around this bend here, just did some brake tests to see. The brakes are a bit sharper than the Dublin bikes, which is probably a good thing because their brakes are quite soft, which has a safety implication for novice users, but they're for traffic a bit too slow. Back onto the street again for a second, and in a minute now you'll see me stop and get off the bike and check the saddle. That's because I'm finding it quite difficult to pedal along here on an easy enough road that I travel every day, and I'm just finding it a bit surprising to have so much difficulty. And what you might notice there is my knees aren't going down too far. They're staying quite high, which is, as we know, not good for cycling. Your legs should be almost fully straight when you're pedaling, but mine aren't because the saddle is so low. And if you have a look here now, saddle goes down, saddle comes up, but it doesn't come up any further. And this is my big problem with the bikes. The saddle is super low. They appear to come from maybe Singapore, and it seems they're designed for people of Singaporean height, not Irish height. Europeans just won't be able to use these bikes. This shot is after checking the saddle height for a third time, and you can see my knees are still quite bent. And if we bring up an overlay of the Dublin bikes and the Boris bikes, you'll see the rider's legs straighten nearly like 90% while they're pedaling on the downstroke. And that's the way my legs here should be going, but they're not. So that's probably most of the reason why I found it so tiring to ride. The other thing as well is, even with that, it's still quite hard to push. Like if you stand up on the pedals, it's still surprisingly hard. The wheels aren't that fat, so I can't, or the tires aren't that fat, so I can't blame them. So the only thing I can think of is possibly the dynamo. And if we have a look at the dynamo, you can see it does cause a little bit of resistance as the wheel spins slowly. but I suspect as the wheel goes faster, that O-bike dynamo is increasing the resistance, making it very difficult to pedal. In comparison, the Shimano hub on the back rolls freely, and you can see here there's no slow down at all, so I just stop it. The bike is equipped with lights, the white front light here, and two red lights built into the back of the frame, which you'll see now in a second. I assume they're decent, they're probably LED and I assume fine. I didn't test them at night, so I haven't got any footage of them actually in use. Boris bikes in London also have a green laser that projects out the front of the bike. Dublin bikes nor Bleeper bikes have that though. I was very happy with coming downhill on the bike. It's sturdy and stable, and there's no speed wobbles or any kind of shakes, so I was perfectly happy with that. But coming back up the hill was pretty much torture. It's just no fun to go uphill. For the record, I cycle longer spins. I can do 80, 100 kilometers, no problem. On a variety of bikes. I use Dublin bikes regularly. I use a bit of a commuter beater that weighs about 15 kilos sometimes, and I also have my own bike, which is a 12 kilo road bike. So my legs wouldn't be abnormally weak or anything, but this was just difficult. Even a Dublin bike, which are heavy bikes, would be more pleasurable to go up the hill with. Having spent around 40 minutes on the bike, I decided I'd had enough, so I brought it around to Tesco here and found a Sheffield stand. It was marked as a parking area on their app, which is good. I suspect that was by the county council's request. So we hang the lanyard around the lock and then push the lock into position, and then beeps. And there, it's nice and secure now. Tapping end journey now on our app. It completes the ride, and we say yes, we've done it. And it takes a second because the network has to then connect to the lock, and we are done. That was part of my free ride, so adding a credit card got me that €1 to get me the free ride. The start position shown there was completely wrong. Overall, I'm not super impressed with Bleeper Bike. Really, it just wasn't comfortable to ride because it was just so tiring, and that kind of ruins the experience. Dublin bikes, while slightly better than Boris bikes, don't exactly set a high bar, and they blow these out of the water. Maybe if you're 5'6" or less, they'd be decent options, but for me at almost 6'2", they're just never going to be an option that way. Maybe a version 2 might improve the saddle and make them a bit more rideable, but in their current state, I just couldn't use them. irishcycle.com used O-bike in the Netherlands and called them quote useless, and I just have to agree. And to add insult to injury, they are now occupying almost half the rack spaces in Rathfarnham. Shit.